as well as me. All legal notices have been duly posted and the court is duly called.
Second.
All those in favor of opening court?
Aye.
And available, please open court, please.
Please rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the January 2012 term with the Honorable Clay Lewis Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
And our invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Price.
Judge, Commissioners, this morning we're very pleased to have with us Dr. Jerome McNeil, Jr. Dr. Jerome McNeil is the senior pastor of the Christian Chapel CME Temple of Faith Church in Dallas, and they have over 80 ministries and 6,000 members. Dr. McNeil is the Vice President of Family Development of African American Pastors Coalition. He's a former columnist for the Christian Index. He's chairman of the Commission on Ministerial Examination of the Dallas-Fort Worth Annual Episcopal Church. He is a board of trustee on the Board of Trustees of the Phillips School of Theology and the Interdenominational Theological Center in Atlanta, Georgia. He also serves on the National Board of One Church, One School, based out of Chicago, Illinois, and is the founder and the ex officio member of the board of the Jordan Community Development Corporation of Dallas. He is a clinical member of the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. He has an earned doctorate in counseling in psychology. He served as an adjunct faculty member for the University of Houston, the University of Texas at Arlington, Prairie View A&M, Texas Southern, and an instructor and counselor at Texas College. Additionally, he's a teaching pastor for interns for Bright Divinity School, Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, and Perkins School of Theology at Southern Methodist University. He's a former television and radio talk show host in Houston and Dallas, and a pioneer in juvenile justice and family issues in Texas, serving as a lobbyist in juvenile issues for the Texas Coalition of Juvenile Justice and the National Coalition of Churches. He was appointed by the late Governor Ann Richards to serve on the Texas Marriage and Family Licensing Board for a 3-year term. He's hired as the highest ranking African American in Dallas in 1981. He was our first assistant director for the Dallas County Juvenile Department in 1983. And so he became the first African American family court investigator and counselor for Dallas County. Dr. McNeil was a delegate to the World Methodist Conference in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and he preached in Rome, Italy with the World Methodist Evangelism Symposium and in the Bahamas. He is the father of 2 daughters, son-in-law, 2 granddaughters, and he and his wife of 39 years, Miss Billy Caldell McNeil, is the director of counseling at the Christian Chapel CME Church, and together they frequently conduct marriage, enrichment, and relationship workshops throughout the country. Dr. McNeil.
God bless you. Let us pray. Almighty God, Judge of all things, hear us today as we seek your blessings upon the deliberations of this court. As these chosen men and women discharge their duties, Lord, guide them with the decisions they must make today. Lord, give them the grace, and most of all, Lord, the grace of sufficiency to recognize your will. Give them humility to shed your guiding light in every mind and every heart. Keep us alert, O Lord, for the things that might come up that we can't handle. Keep our thinking straight and true. Forgive us for making mountains out of molehills and for exaggerating our own importance and overlooking your importance. Lord, we ask that we might confront the issues that make a difference. And most of all, give us the faith to believe that if we let you have your way, you'll give us the answers we can't find ourselves. You've given us the inner voice of conscience. Now help us to distinguish good from evil and make us want to make right. This we pray in the name of Jesus. Let us all say amen.
Amen.
Welcome to the meeting of the Dallas County Commissioners Court. Considering our official agenda, then a reset for our reports and training work session. We hear from one registered speaker. The main for the closed session to consider items as allowed by law. We have 4 resolutions this morning, and the first is from Commissioner Cantrell.
Judge and Commissioners, an honor to introduce a resolution for Sister Margaret Ann Mosier. I know she's not going to be here, but I think the Mosier family is here. They can accept on her behalf. She is going to come on up. She's out doing community service stuff. So this would be presented. It was a 30th annual Catholic Foundation Award dinner, and it was presented to her at the time. This family came up. I would like to.
We those are different kind of community service that I remember.
No, that's correct. That's correct. Whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes special notice when an individual has contributed greatly to our community. And whereas Sister Margaret Ann Mosier, OSU, the longest serving leader of Ursuline Academy and a highly respected educator for over 4 decades, has been president of Ursuline, her own alma mater, since 1989, and embodies the true spirit of service. And whereas Sister Margaret Ann is the descendant of a pioneer Dallas family, including Chris and Ann Mosier, her father A.C. Mosier Jr., who made significant community contributions to Dallas County. And whereas Sister Margaret Ann's achievements at the Academy have included a $10 million campaign to fund a new gym and performing arts center, a $29 million campaign for campus renewal and growth in endowments that includes the construction of the LEED Gold Certified French Family Science, Math, and Technology Center, pioneering laptop computer program, sister school partnerships in China and South America, and the current Global Education Curriculum Initiative. And whereas Sister Margaret Ann is gifted at connecting those who wish to give back with opportunities to serve. Her dedication to her students and the community has had widespread impact, reflected by the contributions of Ursuline graduates who lead and serve in Dallas and around the world. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Sister Margaret Ann Mosier for her service to our county and our community, and wishes her the very best in her semi-retirement. And I so move.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And if you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name's Larry Moser.
And I'm Charlotte Moser. Marla Moser.
I'm Jay Moser. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you very much for coming down. We'll present that to her at the dinner.
Be nice to those Russo girls, Ursula. Nice kids. It is amazing what one family and one person who dedicates their life to God and the community can do. That is an incredible testimony in this business. Another resolution is, or actually 3 resolutions. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Judge, members of the Commissioners Court, and everybody in the audience. I'm very honored to present the first resolution to David Laird Bonner. Bonner, can you please come forward to the microphone with your guest? The resolution reads as follows. Whereas David Laird Bonner will be retiring in February after almost 23 years with the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, beginning his career with the county on March 1st, 1989 as a detention service officer at the George Allen Jail. And whereas he advanced in 1992 to the position of deputy sheriff and was assigned to the North Tower and the Bond Desk in February of 1997, became a senior sergeant working at Susan Case, George Allen, and Decker jails, and the release intake, traffic, and court services section. Whereas his law enforcement career began with the Texas Department of Corrections in July of 1973 as a Correctional Officer 1 assigned to the Central Unit in Sugar Land, Texas. Whereas he graduated from Mejia High School and received his associate degree in Arts and Science on December 15, 1994 from Mountain View College, received the Master Jailer Certificate in January 2007, Academic Recognition Award in September 2009, Master Peace Officer Certificate in February 2010, and Instructor Proficiency Certificate in March 2011. And whereas David resides in Cedar Hill with his wife Camilla Sue Warner and their son Michael, and is active at the Cedar Hill Church of Christ. Now therefore be resolved that the Commissioners Court of Dallas County does recommend David Lear Warner for his almost 23 years of service to the citizens of Dallas County and wishes him good health and happiness in his upcoming retirement in February of 2012. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And I move approval of this resolution.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner, Judge, Commissioners. We want to, on behalf of the Sheriff and the Detentions Bureau, we want to thank you for bestowing this honor on not only Sergeant Bonner, but his family as well. One of the things I'd like to kind of reminisce a little bit, if I may, for a minute or two, is I remember working with Sergeant Bonner throughout the years, and one of the things that I can remember about him is I know that if I needed something done, I didn't have to worry about it getting done. He assured me that he was going to do it, and I knew it was going to get done. And he always had a kind word, and he followed the rules to a T. That's something we can always count on him doing. So we want to wish him well from the department, and I don't want to take too much time because I want him to say a few words and introduce his distinguished family. Thank y'all.
Well, I'm so honored here. It's an honor to stand in front of the court. Mr. Price, I've known you for years. We've visited a lot. You did a lot for the Sheriff's Department. I appreciate that. And every time I got hired, and every promotion I got, you sent me something. And I've still got all that. Thank you for that. And thank all of you for your support and everything. You know, I'm kind of in spots, but I want to share with my family because I've got a law enforcement family here, and I want to give them a little honor too, if that's okay. Thank you for this. Tammy Bonner, she, you want to say a word to me? She retired last year, 17 years with the county. She started as a clerk, DSO. I'm proud of her. She's got a lot of accomplishment. She's got the teaching certification and a lot of other honors that I just can't remember it all. And she's a great wife, and I mean, we just have a great time together. And my son Michael, he's going to be 13 next week. He's kind of great. And this is the future. I don't know if he's going to follow my footsteps, but if he did, he would do great in the profession. He's an A&B student, and he's done a lot of good things. This is really proud of him. Okay. And my mother, she's a retired justice of the peace from Limestone County. She retired there. My dad is not here. He died a few years ago. He was a retired constable there. And I grew up with a law enforcement family, and that's why I probably see things in black and white, because that's the way they brought me up in the church and all. It had a lot to do with how to, and I'm very pleased that I think you did a good job raising them. And I just want to give her a little honor too. You want to say something?
Thank y'all very much for all of you guys that you did. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate the Commissioner's Court.
And Buck, this is my first cousin. He lives in Fairfield. He's a constable in Freestone County. And you want to still work with it?
I just want to congratulate David on his retirement and for having
You're a constable in Freestyle?
Yes, 35 years.
Wow.
Going on 6th term.
He got this with me by now. He's been a 35 years. He's got every certification thing. He's done a lot of good stuff for Freestone County. I'm very proud of him.
A lot of people.
Don't have a opponent.
Yeah. I don't know what else I can say to thank you. And like I said, it's an honor working with the county for all this time. And I hope that y'all appreciate everything that I've done.
Well, Chief Herrera kind of put it in perspective. So, and I know Chief Flores and Chief Costa, along with Captain Hargrave, and all you people, really appreciate it. You've seen that facility turn around, and you've been an integral part of it. Chief Herrera put it in perspective. I was at a town hall meeting the other night, and they were talking about the fact that I guess they figured out Dallas County didn't have anything to do with $175 million. Take out the cage jail, $66 million. So, you know, that other $130 million, we didn't have anything else to do, so we just went and spent it on the jail. We go to the Texas Commission on Jail Standards this week, and you've been around long enough to see that that facility has made a total $180 return, and that you've been an integral part of helping us bridge that. So I just want to say thank you.
And I appreciate your support. We did that because y'all gave us support. You know, I went through that AIS problem and in it. We finally got past that, and we've done well. We take this very well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Judge, my second resolution is for Ms. Jan.
I'm just thinking, since you got your own family here.
Sergeant.
Hey, Sergeant.
Sergeant.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Family down, let's take a picture. If you want to. Yeah. Since you got to do the resolution. Who's got a camera?
We have a camera.
We got the news over here.
You said you got a goal of putting in 50 years. You got 35. You got 15 more.
Okay, Judge, our second resolution is recognizing Ms. Jan Tennyson, founder of the Dare to Dream Children's Foundation. She's here with us in the audience, and I will ask her to come forward with her guest. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas Jan Tennyson, founder of the Dare to Dream Children's Foundation, will celebrate 25 years in ministry in 2012. Their website is www.daretodreamdallas.org. And whereas her personal struggles as an abandoned child growing up in the foster care system in New York City ignited a passion to create an organization that would impact the lives of abused, neglected, and foster children and orphans. And whereas performing on the piano as a child at Carnegie Hall and at the Brooklyn Academy of Music helped build her self-esteem and her desire to help the less fortunate and reach for the stars. As an adult, she moved to Dallas and became a choreographer for the contemporary chorale of Richland College. And whereas in 2007, Jan was awarded the Governor's Lone Star Achievement Award in Austin and the Eddie Holiday Rose of Distinction Award at the Park Cities Club in Dallas. Whereas her book, She Dares to Dream, the Jan Tennyson story, tells of planting seeds of greatness in those most unlikely to succeed. The young and old are inspired to see a light at the end of the tunnel of despair. Whereas her incredible story of triumph over tragedy has been featured on radio and television, and thousands of broken-hearted youngsters and adults have heard the message of encouragement and hope through the knowledge and love of Jesus. So, now therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court officially recognizes Jan Tennyson's ministry and work through the Dare to Dream Foundation, helping foster children and orphans in Dallas County and around the world. And I salute. Secretary Larson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
It's actually such an honor to be here and to know that you believe in Dare to Dream. I tell the young people who are without families, which I was most of my life without a family, and I've got 2 family members in back of me who have been board members since almost the inception, that the future does belong only to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. I know that you've heard that before, and when you can see young people's eyes change and a passion be ignited in their spirit, you know that they can get on the right track and they can become very, very significant citizens in our country. So I am so honored and thank you so much for this proclamation. And now I'd like to have Jimmy Slater and Dennis Allen.
I'm so grateful to be here today. We thank the Dallas County, we thank the clerk and the courthouse. It's truly a blessing to be here. I tell you, I've been working with your ministry for quite some time, and I have seen such a large impact and positive impact on our youth, because we know that they are our future. And something that they saw in something like me, I tell you, it's been such a blessing to see the inspiration and the change on their lives. There was one young man that my wife and I went out to eat at a restaurant, and I had several of the youth with me, and I didn't actually see the young man. It was a guy that was in the TYC juvenile facility, and during that visit, he kept trying to get my attention. And somebody told me, there's a young man trying to get your attention. And when I saw him, he just grabbed me and embraced me. And his mom grabbed me and embraced me. She said, thank you. It was something that Dare to Dream said to my son that changed his life. And he said, I owe it all to you. I said, no, it's all to God. He said, because my life has changed. He said, I'm successful. He said, I'm now married. I'm now certified welder, and I'm doing well for myself. And that just does me honor to see we're able to put back into the children, because all we're looking for is just love. And this ministry is all about love and reaching out to our young people, try to help them become a productive citizen of this great land, the USA. And we thank you for this award. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning. To Honorable Higgins, to all the distinguished commissioners, Sia, Commissioner Price, I always say, and Martin Luther King, I am Pastor Slater, New Millennium Bible Fellowship, Senior Pastor. And the lady over there that's taking the picture, that's the Executive Pastor. And I just thank God for each and every one of you for giving us this award. I've been with Dare to Dream for about 21, 22 years. I started out at the YMCA. I worked there for 14 years. And we touched the lives of young people in that emergency shelter. And as I go to Inner Way, and I go down there at Marcel C. Hill Detention Center, and we meet with these young people on a regular basis, 26 to 50 children. who are in there are motivated by Dare to Dream Foundation. And that has been a blessing to me because I've seen these young people as I've worked at Martin Luther King for over 14, 15 years at the Recreation Center. Most of those young people we serve. And so I've seen the impact. I've seen the ones when I went in and I seen them sitting there and say, I know you, Mrs. Slater. I say, yes, you do. What are you doing in here? You know, and so Dare to Dream has inspired a lot of young people, but equally so, a lot of volunteers who we serve. Over 200 some volunteers, over 1,000 youth we serve each year at Henry Wade, Cottrell House, Juvenile Detention Center, and it's just been a blessing to be a part of this ministry, a part of this organization, and we're looking forward for God to take it even higher and higher for 25 years. So once again, I thank you all for this great opportunity, and we'll pray that God give you strength.
Ms. Tennyson gave me her book, Dares to Dream, and I really appreciate that. Ms. Tennyson, I look forward to read it, and thank you for
Y'all want a picture?
such an inspiration.
Y'all want a picture? Or, sir, with the, if it's better, do you want us to come down there?
And our beautiful lady that's taking pictures.
See, walking down there now, the camera. Every time you get okay.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, last but not least, I have the honor to recognize someone that has been in our communities working very hard, particularly in the southern sector, and it's Constable Thomas Wayne Kirby. And I know he's here. I'm going to ask him and his delegation to come forward. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas Deputy Constable Thomas Wayne Kirby was born in Centerville, Texas, and later graduated from DeSoto High School in DeSoto, Texas. And Deputy Kirby began his law enforcement career with the DeSoto Police Department, where he rose to the rank of sergeant before becoming a Dallas County Deputy Constable. As a Deputy Constable, he was diligently served the citizens of Dallas County for over 27 years. Deputy Kirby serves as the RIT Deputy, a Department Civil Instructor, and holds a Master's Peace Officer license. And over the course of many years, the Dallas County Tax Office and the law firm of Lineberger, Dorgan, Bale, and Sampson, acting on behalf of Dallas County, have really relied upon the services of the Office of Constables Royce William Prison Court, and in particular, Deputy Kirby in the execution of various civil processes, including property tax warrants, and in the execution of his daily duties and obligations as a Deputy Constable. Deputy Kirby has on many occasions provided valuable information which has been proven to be extremely beneficial to the Dallas County taxing authorities. Whereas, on multiple occasions, the information provided by Deputy Kirby has directly impacted the collection of hundreds of thousands of tax dollars owned by various companies within the precinct. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court officially recognizes the accomplishments of Deputy Constable Thomas Wayne Kirby and acknowledge his great partnership with the Dallas Tax County Office and assisting in collection of delinquent property taxes. And so I move, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
You pull the mic up. You don't have,
A little taller.
you don't have the LBJ.
Oh, okay.
You'll recognize you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm doing my job, but I do appreciate it. And we've got the constable behind me here, Constable Roy Williams. We've enjoyed the last year we've had with Constable Williams. He's been a good asset to this county, and we appreciate the fact that he's worked with us very strong. And I thank you.
Thank you. Right?
Then I know what John Ames is coming to tell us, and that is that today is what?
Well, I'll say that after I do this. But I want to say Deputy Kirk is very modest. He does a tremendous job of keeping his eyes and ears open for outstanding and delinquent tax issues. That is a tremendous help to the tax office. As you know, we collect almost $4 billion a year, and we can't do without the great partnership of both Weingarten Law Firm and Constable Williams in his office. And Deputy Kirby has done this for a long time, and he knows what to look for. He does a great job, so we appreciate and I'm glad that we were able to participate in this today. And what Judge Jenkins is referring to us today is the last day to pay your property taxes without penalties and interest. So, 223 tax office staff are ready and willing to take your claim today at all 9 locations. Feel free to come on over. Not always, Commissioner.
Before you leave, let me throw out an attaboy, or I guess I should say a shout out to you because someone else gave you an attaboy. It's my understanding, and you might elaborate on this, but it's my understanding that Wick Allison, who is the publisher of D Magazine, went in to, I guess, re-register his car, and he gave a printed attaboy to you in your office because I believe he was able to get through the line in 4 minutes as compared to the 2.5 or so hours it takes when you go to the state office. So, congratulations for doing a great job. We all know how much you care about your job because we take the tour and we meet everybody and we see how fired up that team is over there. So, that's great.
Good morning, Judge Jenkins and distinguished members of the Commissioners Court. My name is Edward Lopez. I'm a senior partner at Weingarten Coast for Eric Sampson. Constable Kirby was extremely very short in saying really what he helps us do in doing our job. Not only are we out trying to collect the delinquent tax dollars for the county, but we have to work in conjunction with district courts, district judges who are extremely helpful when we need them at the drop of a hat. We have to work with the tax office when we need evidence presented at the drop of a hat. And most importantly, we have to work with the constable's office when we need them to execute warrants and writs at the drop of a hat. And what Constable Kirby has done for us over really the course of the last year is, as he's driving around the community in his precinct, when he sees a business going out of business, for example, those businesses don't call the tax office and say, hey, I'm going out of business, your assets are about to leave the county, would you like to come enforce your lien? The tax office has no way of gathering that information. So if we require, or we rely, I should say, on the eyes and ears of people like Constable Kirby, and on many instances he's called us and said there's a business liquidating. In one example, just a few months ago, there's a business liquidating on, he called us on Wednesday. By Thursday, we had the warrant drafted, working with the tax office. By Friday, working with our judge, we had it signed. By Monday, we were executing it. Monday morning with Constable Kirby, before the liquidation could occur, we showed up and said, we have a tax lien for Dallas County, the other taxing authorities, and we're here to enforce that. We got all the taxes paid. And if you just take a handful of stories where he's assisted the tax office and the law firm, it amounts to over millions of dollars in collections, actually. So we just thought it was very important to recognize him. We appreciate what the court has done in recognizing him, because it is really a true partnership between the law firm, the tax office, the district judges, the courts, and of course the executing officials. So we're very proud of them and thankful for the extraordinary work they do, and particularly Constable Kirby and Constable Williams as well. So thank y'all so much this morning for recognizing him.
You don't have to wear a ring.
Morning, Gordon. Very briefly, I appreciate
Mr. Perez and my Lord and John as well. One thing I ask my troops to do is just do your job. Let me worry about everything else and you just do your job. And that's what Mr. Davis, Mr. Deputy Kirby have done. So I'm grateful to them and I thank you all for recognizing staff. Thank you.
not through grants, like you say, from private organizations, foundations that are already developed. So with that, I appreciate your support. And of course, I want to thank the District Attorney's Office for their great work. I know we're going through challenging times, but hey, like you say, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Commissioner Garcia, I commend you for this letter. It's very well written, it's very explicit, and I know that we've looked at sources on both sides of the aisle to see about getting it. And the thing is, that somebody got that grant, and we didn't. And I know that IDA has been very instrumental in keeping our domestic violence program going. And we need to find out why we lost it and how we can get it back. Because those grants are still out there, and there's no greater need than Dallas, Texas. Thank you for your activism.
Judge, and I appreciate Commissioner Garcia doing that also. But looking at where the federal government is, where the state is, I have to agree with Commissioner Price that at some point in time, those grants, all the CJD grants are going to basically end up going away. And we've relied heavily on Dallas County. We've got our fair share, but at some point in time, even through CJD, as we relook at how we reinvent the justice system and how to make it work smarter and harder with the limited resources we have, I think at the federal level, those things are drying up. If it's not done properly, then it's a matter of prioritizing here in Dallas County and moving forward from there.
And I want to work with you real quick. Nobody got that grant. Let's go to that grant. Get them right.
There was distinct cuts at the state and the federal level related to grant dollars. I'm not specific related to whether or not somebody else got funding that hadn't been funding in the past, more than likely not.
Somebody did it.
But there was still money there that I don't think they went and funded new things. I think they just cut some out and some continue to get funded, but ours did not.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah. Moving forward.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried. And next we'll consider Court Orders 10 through 32. Is there a second on this court order?
Second, and I'm abstaining on 14.
Don't get a motion in a second, all those in favor?
So the rest of the business.
I think on 14 is unanimous on anything else. The court will now reconvene in public session and recess for a future session.
Before we do, I just want to thank Dr. Terry Smith and all the volunteers. Jared Green talked about it this past Saturday. We had, beginning at before 9 o'clock, volunteers out of the Sheriff's Department, a number of them I see here today, the Juvenile Department, the Probation Department, and some of our community partners. We met at Southwest Center Mall for a day of amnesty as part of our JDAI initiative. And we were there and we talked to the staff, and after that we kind of stayed all day. We finally terminated, we were supposed to terminate I think about 2 o'clock. Most of us left about 4 o'clock. They had a program there. But they hosted us, and as a result, we had a good program. Judge, as we talked about yesterday evening, I think that Dallas County, and given the meeting that Commissioner Cantrell and I had with some of the judges and other stakeholders, we're going to have to, just what we just said, we're going to have to begin to deal with business totally different than the way we've done in the past. The Sheriff's Department can't do it the way they've traditionally done. They're going to have to make some priority about what papers come first and what papers will basically almost pay for themselves at the same time or simultaneously trying to manage the whole issue of public safety. The Sheriff's Department has 230,000 warrants just in the Class C rank. And we've got to do something different. We've got tens of thousands of warrants on truancy. We've got to do something different. And so we had a good showing on Saturday. It wasn't what we expected, or not even as well as the last one we did. But we're going to have more of those kind of initiatives to be able to not only relieve our LEAs, but at the same time try to figure out how we're going to manage what we now have in the reservoir. All of that consumes time and energy, and we have our other competing cooperating partners picking these people up. We have to transport them, and we've got to do something different. Got to do something different than the way we've been doing it. We just can't continue to have it just like we have. So again, Dr. Smith, appreciate Saturday and all of our volunteers, and we'll be thanking all of them for being there, and Southwest Cinema for hosting us as they did the last time. One of the things that happened was the young people who showed up with their parents wanted to try to help clear some of their wounds. And we could not accommodate them. So, but it gave us an idea, because we had all the computers and set up, and whether or not we can get a judge there, and again, try to get some kind of initiative. So we're just going to have to do things different. Otherwise, we're going to really challenge our staff in ways that they've never been challenged before. It's just not fair to me. So, okay.
Josh, I also would like to recognize someone that is in the audience today. We just reappointed Ms. Frances Gonzalez to the Dallas County Trail and Preserve Program. And Ms. Gonzalez, would you please stand up? Thank you so much for being here. I know it's not easy sometimes to donate a lot of your time as a volunteer, and really appreciate your service to Dallas County and, of course, the city of Dallas Harbor as well. So thank you. She's a master gardener and a fervent volunteer for the city and the county. Thank you.
And I want to thank her for being a master gardener volunteer. I appreciate your connection to the community, because it's really important that not only we are interested in gardening, but also bringing gardening to different segments of the community. And that's what you've done, and you've been an outstanding public servant in that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoy that, and I'm out here to help save money on the plants and everything, the watering and whatever needs to be done, and now looking towards the trails. It's a very good experience.
That's great.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioner. Your briefing agenda, item 1, Health and Human Services, recommended approval of additional funding in the 2011-2012 legislative assistance agreement between Healthcare Associates and Dallas County DHS and Legislative Services, also Honorable Hutton. Item 2, Criminal Justice, recommended approval of membership of the Dallas County Local Data Advisory Board. I'd like to ask Ron Stretch to come forward and share some good news with you folks. Last night, but it's worth repeating.
I do like to share good news.
We need them, Mr. Stretcher.
I see you responded to the email.
I did.
Okay.
On the questions.
It's good news all the way around. I hope the briefing was gave you a good background on this issue, and clearly we need to get our.
This up, did you?
I didn't make it up.
Okay, all right.
Those are real numbers.
Okay, good.
Real numbers.
Good.
Just as a quick overview, we are required to report arrests and then dispositions on the arrest to the Department of Public Safety, and that feeds into their consolidated criminal history program that people all over the state use for background checks, as well as, prosecution decisions and those sort of things. It's critical information. In 2009, the legislature passed a requirement that any county not at a 90% compliance level constitute a local data advisory board and submit a data improvement plan, which we did. Now, when we started on this, most of our percentages were below 60%. And we've been working on this and got them up to 80%. Before the holidays, the governor's office came out and said, all right, moving forward, if your adult percentages are not above 90%, you'll lose your grant funding. It's a phased-in approach, effective August 1st. You need to be at 90%, or anything funded with the Burn Justice Assistant Grant is at risk. The next year, it's any of the CJD grant funding.
At this time, they're not attaching penalties to the juvenile reporting, but we all expect that they will at some point.
We're going to be there.
Sir?
We're going to be there.
Oh, we're going to be there.
Adult.
Now, this is adult. This is adult here. And so wanted you to know, we've been working this since we got the notice. We brought in our law enforcement agency partners. But I do have to point out some real thanks to IT Services and then Jill Reisman and my staff. They really rolled their sleeves up over the last couple of weeks, dug into the reporting, and found some reporting routines that we were able to correct. As you can see here, just since we've started this, we've gone from an aggregate of 81.94% to an aggregate of 87.59%. So we're right at that 90% we need for our 5-year average. And this is without any real meaningful work yet from the law enforcement agency partners. They're on board, they're going to work with us, but we're filtering so that we give them the real life cases that are in their bailiwick to fix. We have also engaged and are working very closely with Dr. Smith and her staff on the juvenile. I believe actually today we have a training session scheduled, and that group is mobilized, and we'll be okay with the juvenile. Fortunately, your universe of cases is smaller on the juvenile, but there are some challenges with older arrests if we're missing fingerprints, but we're on board with that. This is critical because it's not just our grant funding, it's any agency in Dallas County. So it's police agencies, it's the nonprofits, it's the grants we talked about for the DA that go through this. It's the whole ball of wax. So it's critical that we get this done. We're on target. We'll stay after it. We'll give you monthly updates, but we'll make our 90% by August 1st. Since I just want to point out one more thing. Since I did the briefing, I did hear back from others, and we've got the initial local Dallas advisory board replacements worked out. Our Assistant Deputy Chief Carol Wilson from the Sheriff's Office will be on that. And then Ms. Keith Harris and Ron Hill from the DA will be their reps.
I heard you say something. I just want to make sure that the public understands that these reporting requirements, we can only do so much. The agencies themselves, the arresting agency also has to report data. And the monies that are going to be lost if we don't all work together, which we're doing a good job of under y'all's leadership there, is going to be to probably every police department in the county. Right?
Yes, sir. It goes even deeper. There are multiple nonprofits that receive this funding.
But the cities are taking very seriously. Commissioner Price and I went to a meeting with, I think we had over 80 participants there, mostly law enforcement and the DA's office. So they pay. I just want to say thank you to Ron and Dr. Tim Craig City and Jill for making it a priority to get this done.
We'll get it done. We'll keep you updated. But it's good news. We've made a lot of progress.
It's like 92, so we got a little push.
As
Yeah, that's what you have to understand. And not only that, and one of the things that was real clear in the meeting, and I appreciate Ron and the staff trying to help mitigate that, is there are a lot of our cities that are between two counties. The Grand Prairies, the River World, and the others, they're on borderline. And they help.
I'm surprised that Ellis County hates it. He's mad at the poor Ellis County.
I'm just trying to get those roads straightened out there. But anyway, but no, they I think it was very productive meeting.
Absolutely.
See, the state wasn't able to tell the cities what part of it was their issue.
Right.
Our IT departments, they would go through and pull that out and give each city to where they only have to deal with those different deals that their city has. Very important.
And actually, in the work that Craig and Jill and Vicki Buchanan from IT have done, we've identified an anomaly in the system that they have not accounted for people who are absconders at large. And so they've worked with us and identified a way to correct that, which will not only help our percentage, but persons all over the state.
So do you think we're not going to need a legislature change with regards to open cases? You think our percentage will be high enough that it won't, those open cases?
I think so, Commissioner. by closing the gap on these unapprehended cases that have been filed but aren't in to dispose of, that'll take care of a significant number. And if we find other anomalies like that that need to be addressed, we'll bring them to you. But we're very confident.
Well, I do want to say, and thank you, Honor, and Jill, and Major, I want you to understand, that gentleman, Craig, I don't know how many people really know, you're not part of staff, not yet, you heard of Major Farmer, but you went in there and dug in there, and you really did, and I wouldn't want to give credit where credit is due. You just really did. Major, I know you don't know a lot about what goes on. In terms of staff around here. We just got here, but he's been here for a minute, but I'll tell you what, he went into that man, he's the reason, a lot of the reason, these numbers, correct, Ron? Absolutely. These numbers came up, so I just want you to understand this. We do appreciate it. Yes, he's very valuable.
Well, and I just have one question. First of all, thank you for the report. I know that we all got several emails asking where we are, because everybody understands that if Dallas County doesn't come to the forefront, it will affect a lot of different counties and municipalities. But what's the timeline for the juvenile department to move those numbers up?
Well, we're essentially taking the approach, we want to keep it under the same time frame as August 1st as we have. But again, no penalties have been attached yet to the juvenile.
And Commissioner, we just want to say that that's what we've been working on for a while. And our goal is not to wait to the last minute. And so the meetings we've been having with Mr. Stretcher, Mr. Victor, and his staff, we've been able to make some headway with not only LEAs, but also with the VA's office, because Ron's right. There's lots of pieces to this puzzle that affects us, but it affects other agencies. So we hope to be above 90% by the August 1st deadline also.
Perfect. And you will keep us posted.
What we'll do, we'll be in order on next week, make some changes in the local data advisory board, and that group will be kind of the executive committee to drive this, and we'll give you monthly updates. And clearly, if I, get a pop-up and something significant happen, we'll put it out via email.
Commissioner Cantrell asked you something a few minutes ago, and I don't know if I took a lot of confidence in your response. Do you really feel like that we should fashion a legislative change with regards to it? It's kind of pushing this out.
Well, I think we need to go a little bit deeper into the data. For instance, DPS is very quick response to this, open unapprehended. Got that resolved. Clearly, if they had been resistant, we would need to talk about that. As we get a little bit further down the road, if we identify a group of case types that we are unable to clear because of the way the process is, we clearly want to come back to it.
Okay, I just thought you were discounting.
Oh, no, not at all. But we hadn't hit a stopping point yet. When we do, we'll need to do that.
Hopefully this will be a monthly item on the CJ.
Oh, absolutely.
Report.
Yeah.
Difference all the chiefs being represented. I hope you would. So.
And we didn't mention it. However, I really want to thank Ron for the briefing. We will present it as CJ. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Item 3, Sheriff recommends the late 2005 Hummer for law enforcement purposes. The identification numbers on the vehicle have been removed, therefore the vehicle can only be used for law enforcement purposes. Item 4, County Judge 4A recommends the establishment of the Dallas County Employee Recognition Program. There are a list of agencies that we would like to include in that. There were some that were not included. We will add those to the list. We're also working on some of the details with the judge's office, some of the smaller departments. I don't think judges want to add anything to that.
I think it's important that we recognize our employees who are working hard, and then their increases, step increases, or overall pay increases in several years. And this is a way that we can do that, and the cost is relatively modest, easily be come up with. So I hope y'all will support that. It's a way of recognizing excellence in our workforce.
And I'm totally in support of this, Josh. I think it's a great idea. You say that we are going to have more than 34 departments?
There are a few departments that were left off, but Ryan noticed a couple that we needed to add. I think one of them was the office.
Domestic relations office. When I took a list that had some rolled up into some groups related to the courts, and so I'll break those back out so that they're standalone.
And we will keep appraised of the way we're going to do this, Judge. Hopefully we can do it in a way that everybody was recognized. I know that in the city of Dallas, we used to have what we call the wall of honor. So all those employees that were recognized monthly will have their picture taken and being recognized in a visible place at City Hall. So
We'll work out the details and come out with a plan that I'd like to share with you, work with the judges office.
but I definitely will be in support of this. Thank you, Judge.
And to save that email that I'll be getting, whoever was left off, it was not on purpose.
And we will get them on the list.
Some of the courts groups, I just know.
I wanted to be sure everybody's
Item 4B recommends suspending all appointments, meetings, and committees of the Homeland Security Advisory Committee.
And if I may, Mr. Martin, I am supportive of this committee. We have a number of advisory committees that we've had for a long time, the Historical Commission, the Historical Foundation, Public Health Advisory Committee, the Trail and Preserve Program. But we really, there's nothing more important than the Homeland Security Department. Because it doesn't, people don't notice it very much, but when it is important, it is the most important thing in Dallas County. And the reason that I'm for continuing it is because we have a lot of tremendous companies in Dallas County that need to be tapped for their resources, not just for money, but also for the, for instance, AT&T, GM. We have companies that that have communication satellites that could really help us in the case of a security problem. We need to think about citizens that know what's going on. It's important that they bring the talking heads, the influence people that represent different segments of the population, that know segments of the population that we in the county may not know. People also that have law enforcement expertise. My own appointment, for instance, was a retired FBI spokesman, Lori Bailey. But I think that one of the things that's required of Dallas County is to provide leadership in that area. The reason these other programs have been going on for so long, for instance, the Trail and Preserve program, is that they have good leadership, and we need to think about that it's incumbent on us to tell these people what we expect of them, and for us as commissioners to make appointments that will add to the knowledge base and the broad community outlook of Dallas County. So I will be voting in favor of keeping this committee.
This briefing pretty much is for the suspension of the advisory committee until further notice, and I want to thank Judge Jenkins for stepping back and looking into the issues with Homeland Security. I know that is important. However, this is a great opportunity also to start doing things different in Dallas County. I know that in my appointments, I have been doing a background check, not only for criminal, but right now I just do it for criminal, but Judge, I would like for the committee also to consider doing, background checks, not only for criminal record, but also for taxes, fines, fees that are due to Dallas County, as well as probably financial conflict of interest. In the city of Dallas, that was a standard procedure. Everybody goes through that. We want to be sure that the people that works with our committees and boards, first of all, do not owe money to Dallas County, and say, fines or fees, and second, that there's not a conflict of interest. If they are having a contract, or they're looking at a contract, or they had a contract, that's information that should be disclosed. And I passed you colleagues the background check that we do here at Dallas County. which is pretty much for criminal background, but we can add, very easily, as far as I understand with my conversation with Mr. Martin, fees and taxes. Mr. Ames, I'm sure, will be delighted to help us with that, and as well as conflict of interest. I mean, a simple question: have you had any financial?
We can revise this form.
And Commissioner Garcia, I thank you for this. I didn't know where it came from, and I think it's a great idea. Another thing that I would like to see added to this are people that have been previous contractors with Dallas County or are presently contractors with Dallas County. This would be helpful.
I think it's just fair. I mean, for all of us, and for
I'm going to, if you would expand it to the issues that Commissioner Garcia raised and also that I raised, I would like to copy this, and then any appointments that my office makes, I want to be sure that this is done. And I wanted to ask you, Judge, you have said that all of the CERT volunteers would have a criminal background or background test, is that right?
That's correct.
And when will that be done?
Effective last Saturday, in order to be a volunteer or 2 Saturdays ago, in order to be a volunteer with the Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Office, you had to undergo a background check.
And can we see the results of those in the next week or so?
For those who took those will be, confidential. If they pass the test, and then they're there. I don't believe we, had anyone who was on that CERT team that was run by Mr. Michaels, who opted to take the test. I believe that team, which was the only team that was affiliated with the county, has opted to suspend its relationship with Dallas County. And so there presently are no tests to see. However, when people take tests, and it will be a prerequisite in order to volunteer with Homeland Security to pass a background test, that will be held as confidential data. And I don't know, pending information from the DA, whether or not individual commissioners would see it or not. As you know, Homeland Security and Homeland Security issues falls under the purview of the county judge.
Oh, so only the judge can see those background tests.
And the administration. I'm not sure. I would defer to the DA as to who can see those.
Well, then how will we know if it's been passed or not if we're not allowed to see it? Only you can see it.
What I'm hoping that we can do is move beyond playing politics.
I'm not playing politics. I want to let it be clear. I simply want to know if everyone, whether they pass it or not. I don't have any individual interest in these CERT volunteers other than the fact that they pass it. And I would like to know if those who are presently on the CERT team are going to have to pass a test, and whether or not they pass it or not. And I expect to see that as an elected official by almost 600,000 constituents. I expect to be able to see that because Homeland Security, it's not an ego thing, it is important to every citizen of this county, including my constituents.
I agree, Commissioner, and as of last Friday, it would be good if we have temporarily suspended those programs until we can have those checks done.
Good. And suspended all of the volunteers.
Completely.
And they will not be reinstated
until they pass a back.
And how will I know that if the judge will allow me to see it?
Commissioner, let me answer that. Let me answer that for you.
Please do.
I will refer to the district attorney.
Oh, the district attorney. Now that I get to talk to the district attorney.
I will
You were into the program.
I will refer to the district attorney about who has the legal right to see people's confidential
But
information.
we're told that you're the big dog here, so why don't you make that decision?
I have made a decision to
Okay, I
follow
want
the
to
law.
see the background test. I want to know if everyone connected with Homeland Security, which is essential to this population in this county, passes a background test.
And they will, or they won't be.
But how are we going to know that if you don't allow it?
And Commissioner Garcia, I'm assuming that you won't, is this for every committee?
I do it for all my applications.
Okay,
But what I would like to recommend is that we not only do criminal, but also fines, fees, taxes, as well as.
Well, what I'm suggesting is if we adopt this and we use it countywide forever, and we'll talk about it if we go back or if we go forward, just on a go-forward basis. But it would seem that the DA agrees that if somebody if an appointment is offered to this court and they go through the background check, then we ought to be able to get not necessarily everything that's on the report from the background check, or whether or not they pass. We ought to be able to talk about that in closed session.
I agree with that.
And that way we know that that person is either eligible or not eligible based on any of those specific items on the bill. So I would think that based on current state law that we have that ability on an appointment.
Michael, would you address that, and also concerning the CERT volunteers and the volunteers of Homeland Security?
Well, I'd say General Commissioner Cantrell and Commissioner agree with the process Commissioner Cantrell is proposing. Because as part of this background check, you will get sensitive information with people, private information with people also. And what I would suggest you do is discuss these board appointments, particularly going forward with background checks in closed session, so there's any potential embarrassing information that you will learn as part of this investigation process, that it doesn't tend to affect the individual whose background we're looking at for considering whether or not he or she should be appointed. Now, whether or not each of you should be privy to the personal information, and my suggestion would be in terms of the process is whoever the commissioner is making the appointment of the person, you tell your other colleagues, I've reviewed the background check. Yes, this person has a criminal background. No, he doesn't. Or yes, he has something that I believe as a nominating member disqualifies him, and then go from there. That will insulate you, the rest of you, from learning information with people that you don't want to be accused of misusing information you learn with people. So I would suggest that the nominating commissioner gets the information, looks at it, and recommends the balance of you in a closed session, yea or nay, whether or not we want to go further with this person, depending on his or her background.
Mr. Michael, I have zero interest in seeing personal information on any of the appointments here. My question is, and let me be very clear, is I want to know whether the people connected with Homeland Security, and this includes the CERT volunteers, have passed the background test if they are going to be CERT volunteers. I keep getting doublespeak as far as how I'm going to know that. How am I going to be assured and assure my constituents that those people have passed a criminal background check?
Commissioner, with all due respect, I don't see it as being a legal question. It's something you need to decide among the five of you. How are you going to adopt the policy?
Well, the judge says he's the big dog, and he makes all these decisions, but he's referred it to you. So I'm simply asking you now.
In terms of Homeland Security, he is correct. The state statute gives the county judge the authority to make these the Dallas County Homeland Security appointments. That's certainly his authority. Now, because then you then have to agree with you say yeah or nay. Again, what I would suggest is once you do the background check, and I don't know if you want to make it retroactive or if you want to make it from this day going forward.
Absolutely retroactive.
Right. But that whatever the process you adopt, retro or going forward, that you do it in closed session because of the nature of the information you're learning with people. And again, it's up to you, the five of you, if you want to say, yes, all of us have a right to see the commission before we vote, or we'll take this denominating person.
I hear you, so let me redirect my question to the boss here. How are we going to know that this criminal background check has been passed by all members of the CERT volunteers in the Homeland Security? How are we going to know? You referred it to the DA, you referred it back to you, so how is this
In order for anyone to volunteer with Homeland Security, they will have to pass a background check.
retroactively as well?
If they are still there volunteering, they have been suspended until such time as their background check comes back. The background check is uniform. It is the same background check that other people in law enforcement use.
How will I know?
You will not be necessarily privy to every bit of information about people's private backgrounds, their social security numbers, etc. But you will be privy to the fact of whether or not they have passed the test.
And how will I be privy to that fact?
we can have Daryl and or Scott certify that they believe, or have Scott, since you're the
I think the boss needs to certify.
I'll certify it as well, that they passed the background test.
You will certify, so that means you will tell B if everybody has passed the background test.
Once Scott tells me what the answer is, since Scott and Daryl will be handling the background test, I'll share that with you, but I will not share with you their private
I don't
information.
care about their private information. I just want to be assured. And please understand, I'm not in this for the
You are
gossip.
assured in front of God and everybody here in open court that the Commissioners Court will be apprised as to whether or not people pass background checks. And furthermore, until they have passed their background test, not until they've taken it, but until they passed it, they will not be a volunteer with Homeland Security.
And I appreciate that. I think my only question is process. And so I would like to, if Mr. Heifel, I would like to see that is on our executive committee on every executive committee session, so that.
We do have a standing item whenever you hold
Standing
one
item.
appointment, and we
Okay.
can discuss under that.
So I will ask for that standing item each time, so we can.
It's already there.
So it is there.
Is it there now?
It's there every week.
It should be ready.
But we've never, well, my dear, we've never heard it before. I'm asking that we.
Sure, I mean, that could be part of the process. And remember also, this is voluntary. When Commissioner Dr. Garcia brought this forward last year, we left it with each commissioner and judge to decide whether or not they wanted to use it for their board appointment. So it's completely voluntary. I know Dr. Garcia uses it for all of her appointments. Some of you have used it for other appointments, but again, it is voluntary. We did not make this mandatory by court order.
But we can
That's
start
primary.
tracking. I just want to know in executive session, and I'll ask each time, for the concern of my constituents, and I've gotten lots of calls and emails, that we will be checking on this. I will be checking, and I hope other members of the court will, to know who's passed the background check, that background test, so especially the circle.
Did you let the eyes and things like that count as well?
All those things are worked out and scored by Scott and Daryl and the various state agencies.
And I would like also, to suggest to the Commissioners Court that we expand the fines, police taxes, as well as monthly for potential
And we
conflict.
will modify the form.
And we expand it also to having been a member, having been a member.
Right, I have that.
Well, I think staff really needs some direction to find out if it's going to be a policy of the board that each appointment be subject to this. And if so, once it's configured with all of the different additional items that you add, there has to be some way that it's not so subjective. In other words, it can be interpreted by each court member differently. In other words, I'm not sure how you approach that issue if what Mr. Hocker said, each commissioner looks at it and decides whether or not. So it really needs to be where it's not subjective, where we know exactly, we set up the parameters of, in other words, what disqualifies? Class B or above, they're disqualified. If there are any taxes or any money or any fees, they're disqualified. So it needs to be non-subjective, where when they get the results, we know what is said. So,
And we put together some standards. But again, to put together, because I think we might have gotten far afield on this in this respect. We probably need to brief this item. Once you put together with Dr. Garcia, they're going to lead what the standards are for those board appointments. It sounds like we have broad agreement that we need that, but we also need to have objective standards as to what qualifies and disqualifies. So we can tell people as they're applying, now if you've had this sort of a situation in your background, you wouldn't be eligible. We don't want to have someone sucker punching someone who wants to be on the historical advisory board.
the form ought to be self-explanatory to where they know what they're being subjected to or not subjected.
And I'll be more than happy to work with Mr. Murphy in a form that will be generic. All our committees will know that they will be submitted to a background check. And I have people that say, hey, thank you for the offering of the appointment. I'd rather not start And again, like Commissioner Cantrell says, some people have, had some histories in the records that, we will discuss whether they qualify for an appointment or not.
With the exception of the Homeland Security, which I understand is immediately. I think with our committees, having this in place for the next appointment process that we make, because we go on there in January. So with those that are on the committees, if they don't want to subject themselves to this, they can let them know or let them advance if we start finding replacements that will discuss.
And there's someone working with Mr. Martin.
And I work with Dr. Garcia's office and the DA's office will put together a brief.
Well, and it looks like we're kind of dealing, or we are dealing with three things at once. And I think we've reached a consensus on two of them. On the first thing, 2 Saturdays ago, as soon as Scott brought it to my attention as we discussed another matter, that we don't have background, we have files on people who volunteer in Homeland Security as far as background checks. I requested that we immediately implement that. Because that's a department under my purview, we can do that without court vote, and we did that. And the result of that is no one is there now pending a background check. Those programs are suspended, and people will not be there without those background checks.
Well, let me just tell you, we're good on a path. Mr. Thompson, Medical Reserve Corps, MRC. How many volunteers do we have approximately in the Medical Reserve Corps?
It ranges up to at least 1,200 volunteers that we have in the
and we've got, and again, they're part of what we utilize. That's part of emergency preparedness. Tell me, see, y'all, yeah, that's right. I know what we do in juvenile, but MRC 1,200 individuals, and they budget in and out. Yeah, I'm running the background check on 1,200 individuals.
And that's why we made this voluntary. So,
well, I understand.
Again.
But I'm just saying, committees, we said they want to focus on that. MRC, just that one committee. 12, at least 1,200 people. And well, I'm just saying.
That's a fourth thing.
Right, but we're talking about.
That's the other fourth.
I understand. I'm just telling you.
And we may want to look at what we do with MRC, but as to this background check,
those don't come through the school.
Well, but we use them in our emergency we should use them on the emergency preparedness side.
So I guess what we need to see in that complete briefing is each committee, how they're appointed, who makes the appointments, and for what time.
Correct.
So we have a full
right. But it's a volunteer-based group that's part of emergency preparedness. And they're there, and they're interfacing, and they're on the ground. They're no different than.
Well, they are. They're different in that I don't have complete say of that. Right? So,
I'm just saying we're treating one group different. They basically do the same kinds of things. Okay. The difference is no group reports to you.
Correct. And that's what we will do in the briefing. Analyze and separate which groups we will decide and which ones will go through Mr. Thompson.
Let me say that the law says that the county judge is the head person for Homeland Security. It's always been that way since we had this department. I think that and what that power means is subject to interpretation. But I think that it's a slippery slope. I used to be invited to the Homeland Security advisory meetings, and now I'm not. Was not invited.
You don't attend those meetings.
I think that when the county judge assumes this includes the members of the Commissioners Court because it's his deal and his only, or hers and hers only. I think it's a slippery slope because remember that the security of Dallas County includes all the citizens.
I think that's disingenuous. She has the worst attendance record of any commissioner to any committee meeting. The rest of us, go 99, 100%. She never shows up. PEBC, nothing. She's disingenuous. She wants to do this because she's dealing with the judge. That's bullcrap.
And just for the record, all commissioners are invited to all committees, and I have been to some Homeland Security advisory committees, and you would. I'm going to agree with Scott Greason, our interim director, that this should be suspended. But I've been to OnStar mirror
Yeah, Lisa Chambers.
for your non-GM car. And another one was a presentation on the dangers of the Mexican drug cartels, complete with information from Wikipedia and pictures of heads on spikes. Now, these are important matters. I think OnStar is a great product to have on a car. And Mexican drug cartels are dangerous and it's an important issue. But they're not issues that deal specifically with emergency preparedness in Dallas County. So what Scott, I think, has eloquently pointed out in brief is we have all these great committees that are functioning quite well. We have committees of people who work with disability integration. We have elected officials committees, the EPPC of the COG. We have subject matter jurisdiction professional officers committees like REPAC. We have volunteer assistance organizations, like BOAD. And then we got this committee that existed 5 years before I got here and before Scott took over. And no one has given me any indication that they've ever got any useful information from the committee. And it's including the committee members themselves. One of them was appointed by you. So we look at that, and then we look at Scott's time. That's an asset for the taxpayers. He costs money. Larry costs money. Ryan Brown coming to these committees costs money. I cost money. And we all prepare for these committee meetings where good, hardworking, nice people are coming to these committees. And I understand people want to put this committee on their resume, but if we're not getting any value from the committee, and if Scott's telling me it's going to be tremendously difficult to reconfigure this committee, take up a bunch of my time to try to find some value for it. And then I look over at Keith Self and Glenn Whitley and Mary Horn, and they don't have these committees, and very few people in the United States. And those people are the county judges of Denton, Collin, and Tarrant County. So I'm balancing trying to get the politics out of Homeland Security, trying not to waste the taxpayers' money on committees that don't do anything, and not because you asked me to, but because the second I found out that the prior administration had not done background checks, we immediately suspended people from working there without background checks and implemented that policy. I would just ask the court to go with Mr. Greason's recommendation and suspend this committee at this time. We will continue to be forthcoming. Scott and I will sit down with you, Commissioner Dickey, or any of the other commissioners and discuss what is going on there. You're all invited as my guests to EPPC and REPAC meetings and BOAD meetings and disability integration meetings. Those are open to the public and law enforcement. Come to those as do I. And I invite every elected person, not just commissioners, by the way, but constables and any other elected persons, input in that. But as to this committee, because we only want three things at once, I support my director's recommendation to disband it.
If I may just, and that's, I respect your opinion, but if I may add, the REPAC and these committees are made up of elected officials from other counties and cities. And this committee that's being suspended or may be suspended is made up of citizens of Dallas County. And that's the difference.
Number 5, IT services recommend approval of funds purchase hardware installation services to build wireless network and select areas of regular admin building. 6.
Thank John Warren for, he's going to fund that activities. Doing clerk's bill and continues to be a team player. We appreciate it.
Item 16, the resource and civil service recommend approval of the revised section of the county code for inclusion in the Dallas County Code. Item 7, purchasing recommend approval of award item number 5, Ross Chandler, Money Truck, Street. Item 8, public works. 8A, recommend execution of change order 17 for the Houston School Road CIP project. Item 8B, recommends Dallas County could claim its real property interest in a portion of the waterline easement reserved for the county except William Sane Road and Mesquite and the current fee owners of the property.
Item 8C, recommends the award of the right-of-way acquisition services contract IDIQ to stateside right-of-way services. Item 8D, recommends approval of change order settlement with TCO Paving Company for the Lake Ridge Parkway MCIP project. Item 9, Commissioners Court Administration. 9A, recommends approval of the ranking of the statement of qualifications for construction manager as a service for the Dallas County Jail at Kumar.
Got plenty questions on the spreadsheet. Ms. Brown, I quickly hit all of the issues and looked at this committee score. It appeared to me that the core services here is the demonstration of qualifications of the team, the demonstration of past performance projects, and the demonstrated past performance on the jail and medical health. In my opinion, it seems to be the core. Would you disagree with that?
No, sir, I would not. Those are the, of the 9 categories that we have, those along with NWBE are the 5 highest weighted categories.
I'm having some difficulty because I went through and I rated them, ranked them, based on what the committee ranked, how the committee ranked them. And I have a little issue that when I get to the bottom line that it didn't seem to kind of hold up. So what changed?
Well, with 9 categories
I know the first
and
one.
10 vendors and 7 committee members, it results in a whole lot of numbers. And that's why your spreadsheet looks like a whole lot of numbers. So let me try to make that a little bit smaller for you, what you can look at. Commissioner is correct. Of the 9 categories, there are 5 that had a higher weighting than the others because of the importance of those. If you look at those 5 categories, the ones that Commissioner Price mentioned, including MWBE, and you look at the composite ranking of those, you still have the same 5 vendors that are being recommended to you here today.
Right.
If you add, while looking at them, trying to put them on a piece of paper and move them around, you can sometimes get lost in the numbers a little bit, but I was able to confirm that those 5 categories, which were the 5 categories with the highest weight for the rankings that the court approved, or the categories that the court approved, if we just looked at those 5 categories, we would be bringing the same recommendation forward to you today.
But there was one proposal when I looked at it. And again, that's what I'm having difficulty, because if you get past all 9 of the weighted areas, the one from the committee members remained constant. But the second person, in terms of the core, did not seem to rise to the level, but at the end was number 2. What I call the name. If you go to the one that y'all ranked as number 1 in terms of the proposal, and you get to the step rankings, the one that became the proposer that was number 2, when I looked through the core, when I looked at the core, they only did one of the core, and that was past performance on similar projects. But the other core, they didn't seem to perform.
Well, Commissioner, I do agree that if you looked at each category individually, you may have some outliers. And I found 4 outliers in those categories. But it was the conglomeration of those 5 together, the four core plus NWBE, that then bring the group. It's the same before and the same after.
Right, no, and I'm okay with that. I'm just trying to follow some consistency and then looking at the committee members. And if I look at those as the core, I still say when I came back to it, the one that is the number 2, which is the last one,
yes, sir.
Okay, they became number 2. But when I look at them in terms of core, they weren't the ones ranking.
Well, when I look at that as the member who's listed on on your score sheets, and I'll just say for the record, we are trying to avoid, the score sheets are information that's only been provided for the
I
So we're trying to.
I recognize it.
If I look at who on your score sheet is ranked as number 2,
Okay.
if I go back and look in the overall total, if I go back and look at the core, 5.2 through 5.5, in that instance, I only have one instance where they are not ranked in the top 5.
And that's,
No, I got to lose.
that's because of the MWBE.
No,
I'm just
no,
counting
no,
5.2 through
no.
5.5.
No, 5, 3.
Well, number 6 ranked high in all the cores, with the exception of the MWBE.
That's correct.
What would have been third?
That's correct. With the 15 points that is assigned for MWBE, that does, one of the high, and actually 15 points is the highest we have for any category in this. There were 2 that had 15 points, 2 categories that had 15 points, and that can make a difference in this.
Okay, I don't want you to misunderstand. I understand the
Yes,
top
sir.
5. I was just trying when I
We're
get down
looking
to.
at the one who received the final number 2 ranking, is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
When I look at their rankings in categories 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5, unless my numbers, unless I missed something, I'm seeing that they were they were one of the top 5 in all of the categories except one of those, and in that category they were number 6.
But
But
then,
at the composite ranking, they became number 2 overall.
They become number 2. And if I go back and look at my rankings of those 5 top categories, they would have been number 3.
and your concern, Commissioner, I just not very sure that I understand. And some of them did very good in the course, and and some are not. At the end, it didn't change the way you rank them.
Oh, no, it did. That's my point.
It's a weighted.
Yeah.
It's because of the weight, that's provided to them.
All right, so that, okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
it
I
did.
got it.
But I believe the one that we're talking about, and if I look in the category that was the next highest category, or also the 15 points, they were number 2 in that category.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it. And not, and staff is right, number 5. Like, that's great. It's just when I got there, and then the final ranking, the step 1 rankings at the end, displaced them similar in the number 2 position, and didn't quite get it. Okay.
And when going back and looking at just those 5 categories, I find them in the number 3 rank. So, but you can have some movement within those 5. They would tend to move around.
I got it. I'm just good. And staff did it together. It's rough, but I just want to make sure we start explaining.
We do look for consistency among our scores. Everybody scores independently, so they may score a little differently, but the important thing is that they score consistently.
Right.
And I do see consistent scores in here among how they choose to grade their evaluations. So what we will do now is
And I used, without calling the proposal's name, as my, I guess, let me say, watermark. And so when I looked at all the way that the score, the committee members, they were least consistent, given that experience in terms of that individual as the watermark.
So what we'll do now is our project manager is already preparing the document that will go out to these 5 firms that will ask some very, very specific information from them about this project, how they propose to deliver it, and will also be the first one in step 2 that we have the opportunity to look at contingencies and cost of construction. So that will be the next step. We are looking, trying to schedule the interviews to go over that information the very first part of March. And we will, Linda wanted me to make sure I mentioned, we will rescore in, you approved in this original solicitation a separate set of scores for step 2. So there will be a rescoring process.
So this is just the first step. Okay, thank you.
In regards to this information, it's a handout. So now that we cull it, we hand it back in. I'm always, I know we need to have Dale on board.
I feel better.
Yeah, if Dale on board, we just hand this kind of stuff back in. Something's gonna happen very big, but that's what I really make sure, I want you to get it back. So you're all
We'll leave it there on the data stand and we'll pick it up afterwards. You're welcome to keep your, the briefing documents for separate information.
Yeah, right,
Just
right.
storing the
Yeah.
links.
Right. Okay.
Given all that, is there a concern with any commission on whether we're moving forward on that?
Item 9B, request approval of location agreement by electric staff reduction for filming in Dallas County Jail. Item 10, budget, together with conference travel training requested by A. Item B, hiring with respect to R4, district attorney, tax assessor, collector, council precinct 3, county treasurer, elections, and juvenile department. And item 10C, that quarter before your formal agenda. Judge, that includes the briefing agenda, and we have one speaker.
We do have one speaker, and if you would please read the rules before I speak.
All commissioners' court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal profane or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
And our main speaker today is Mr. Karen Swanson. Mr. Swanson.
Good morning, court.
Good morning. Mr. Swanson, please just state your name and your address and your age, and when the time is your name.
My name is Sarah Swanson. I reside at 3203 Zebras, Dallas, Texas, 75216. I'm here this morning to speak about corruption in constables' offices, precincts 1, 3, and 5.
Okay, let me kind of caution you to begin with on, and this doesn't come on your pen. As he read in the rules of decorum, you can't make it, I inherited these rules from a previous court, you can't make personal comments. You're going to kind of need to keep your comments global. You can't make personal disparaging remarks against any particular person, including a constable.
Okay, so name no names, just simply the concern.
Name no names, talk about concerns. We'll try to get through that.
In 2009, we dealt with some constables from Precinct 1. Subsequent to that, Jim Foster and I worked with uncovering corrupt towing practices in this particular precinct. The concerns are that constables there intimidated and harassed many citizens and members of the Dallas family that I reside in, and that we had to file subsequent complaints for stalking, intimidation, as well as harassment. The constables put false criminal charges on people in Dallas County. I'm trying not to name names as I speak this, which were subsequently dismissed by the district attorney's office. So we are now at the point of having to pose whether or not malicious prosecution cases are to be filed against this constable's department. We have submitted through proper protocol the open records request, the internal affairs investigations. We've spoken with yourself, Mrs. Maureen Dickey's office. We've even spoken with Mr. Mike Ware in the district attorney's office. Just on and on and on. So now we're here to exhaust the administrative remedy that may be left at answering this concern. And we would like this board to put together a process to investigate the practices in these constable departments.
advantages. So we do have a list of officers that actually.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Judge, I have, Mr. Heighton, have 3 affidavits concerning Mr. Swanson. And since this is going to be part of the record, I want these 3 affidavits reading into the record. The court members are privy to them, they can be part of the public record. The 3 affidavits from individuals regarding Mr. Swanson's presentation today. Okay.
All right, well, we'll put those in the record. Thank you for your comments. You can see Mr. Swanson. That concludes our registered speakers. The court's now reconvened in public session and recess for the closed session. We're talking about chapter 5. Any action that we require for a closed session.
Thank you.